I guess what we want to do and what we plan to do, we won a parachain slot back in April, and we're imminently about to go live with our mainnet and our TGE event. And so at Mandala, our whole goal is to connect government, retail, and enterprise chains and applications with the idea of onboarding the next 100 million users. So what do? So Mandala is that blockchain where all three groups can all coexist together, both governments, enterprises, and retail applications, in a way that they become one ecosystem. That was always the play, that we could have them all connected perfectly together. So our core thesis is that to bring in new users, we need to bring in not just recycled users from other blockchains and other ecosystems, but we want to bring in the next 100 million users into Web3, and we believe that these will come from emerging markets, from developing countries, and we're starting our quest in Indonesia. So why Indonesia? Well, Indonesia is this massive country, and we're very lucky right now to be in Singapore. We're just next door to Indonesia. It's a neighboring country here. But Indonesia is the 4th largest country in the world. It has a very young economy, and it's got a very big growing economy. And so this is going to be one of the top emerging markets that will exist coming up into the next 10 to 20 years. And Indonesia is very aware of this. They know that the average age of their population is something like 16 or something like that. It's quite young. And they've got a vision that by 2045, they want to be the 4th largest economy in the world. So you can see exactly where they're trying to get to. We have a huge amount of crypto adoption and blockchain adoption inside Indonesia. So those that are able, 41% of them actually already hold some sort of tokenized asset. So it is too big to ignore. We do understand that there's 275 million people, and it just so happens that our project is based in Bali, Indonesia. And so we have a rough time being based in Bali. But for those that are aware of Indonesia, we do have such a massive population, which we feel like is a good way that we can springboard our project, but also the Polkadot ecosystem. So why us? So we've got one good-looking guy and one not-so-good-looking guy. So I'll start over with my co-founder, Anta. Anta, we call him the most connected man in Indonesia. So he's a local Balinese guy. He runs a dev shop based out of Bali, and he started getting government contracts. So he's got a huge background already. He's, he's the CEO of Baliola, which is one of the largest blockchain consultancies in the country. He's got an undergrad in machine learning, a master's in blockchain, and he's an author and an entrepreneur. He's already written a couple of books on blockchain as well. And so Anta started getting these requests from the government to create government-based applications. And he thought, well, this is quite odd. This isn't just a normal NFT marketplace that I'm being asked to build. He's being asked to build applications for government. I, myself, run one of Indonesia's largest blockchain media companies. And so we have known each other for quite some time, and we came together and we realized we've got a use case, being some of these government applications. We've got a community, being a large media outlet. We've got all of the perfect moving parts. We just needed to build some tech. And that's where Mandala Chain was born. So our team has experience, and we already had market opportunity. Most teams, when they start out, they build some tech, and then they need to go find a use case and find some users. We've done it the other way around. We've got a use case, and we've got users, and so now we're implementing our tech. And we chose the Polkadot ecosystem. So our core infrastructure. So like I mentioned at the start, we did win a parachain slot back at the start of the year. And at the time, in 2024, we had the most amount of unique wallets that had contributed to a crowd loan. There was $1.2 million of DOT that was bonded for our crowd loan. And 125,000 DOT was raised as part of our parachain slot. And at that time, that was the second most amount of DOT that had been raised for a crowd loan auction. And so we were shocked by this. We didn't anticipate such a huge turnout. We only thought we just would get enough to get by, but it showed that the community really got behind the idea of Mandala Chain and bringing these government, retail, and enterprise applications all into one ecosystem. So we have all of this infrastructure, thanks to Polkadot. We have the ability to run as an L1, and all of the infrastructure, thanks to Polkadot, is now all secured. So we have an environment where we don't have to worry about security when onboarding these government applications or these retail applications or enterprise applications. We're all squared away as a roll-up on top of Polkadot. So some of the government traction that we've already got right now. So our foundation use case and the first thing that we will launch is something called ID Chain, which is Indonesia's digital identity solution, which has been built by one of the government-appointed entities. So .id the domain is owned by an entity that is run by the Indonesian government. So if you have a website that ends in .id, you know that that's Indonesia. And right now, we feel like we can bring on about 10 million wallets just from this one use case. How? So how are we going to do that? So the main way is through this .id domain system. And right now, you can see there's about 100 million active users right now that are interacting with a website that ends in .id. So that's .go.id for government or .co.id for business and banking. And so with 100 million different people interacting with some sort of website that ends in .id, soon they're going to be prompted to create a digital identity. And so when they go to one of these websites, they'll get a prompt to say, hey, would you like to create your own digital identity? So I could have michael.id or michael.e.id, depending on what my name is. You have to get in early for your one-word domains. But we can see with 100 million people that will interact with these portals, if we get a 10% adoption rate, well, that's 10 million wallets. And if we get a 1% adoption rate, well, that's 1 million wallets. And so it won't happen straight away. People are going to have to be prompted a few times, but we imagine that there's a huge wave of users that are about to be onboarded as a result of this one particular use case on Mandala chain. So you can see right now, Bitcoin has 25 million monthly active users. Solana, 20 million. Ethereum, 15 million. Polkadot, I actually think it's less than this now, but it's about 300,000 monthly active users. Some of the largest wallets, MetaMask at its peak had 37 million, and Coinbase Wallet, 9 million. So you can see what type of numbers we're talking about here, and they're daunting because they're so big, but they're real. And so we have this opportunity to bring on huge amounts of numbers that will even dwarf the amount of active users that are inside the Polkadot ecosystem right now. And we hope that this is a rising tide that lifts all ships, all different applications inside the ecosystem. But ID chain is just the beginning. So we feel that this will be the baseline, but we'll have all these different Lego blocks that will build on top of ID chain and different applications which we'll bring inside the Polkadot ecosystem. So just as a teaser for some of these other applications which we do have coming, and we have something like 22 different agreements already signed with different government departments, but we've got an application called Join, which has got 90 banking co-ops putting transactions and data on chain, we've got a pilot project going right now, which is about 40,000 wallets. MedBlock, which is a network of 27 hospitals placing medical insurance and records on chain, which is about 900,000 new addresses. We've got a tokenized gold application, which is toying around with the idea of bringing gold on chain. And we can't reveal it just yet, but we do have an agreement with the largest telecom provider inside Indonesia. And this is like, we're talking mainstream adoption here. So this is the ability to be able to bring on mass amounts of people on chain. And so we feel like, again, this is the ethos of Mandala chain, the ability to be able to bring on new users into Web3, not just recycling the same liquidity mining or recycling the same sort of DeFi farming. We just want to point out as well, this is our home base. So this is the Bali Blockchain Center. So inside COVID, the Bali government realized that they were a one-trick pony. They had tourism, which was their main industry, and outside of that, they had not much. And so they realized that they wanted another industry, and they chose blockchain, which is why they approached Anta, my co-founder. And they gifted us this building. So this is like it's like a university campus. It's got a 500-seat auditorium. It's got a movie theater in there. It's got all these different classrooms. It's got an NFT art gallery in there. And so this is where Mandala chain is based out of. But it's also the hub to a whole bunch of different other blockchain projects throughout our industry that call this place home as well. And this is the birthplace of Mandala chain. We just had a huge conference here just last month called the Bali Blockchain Summit. And I think it's probably almost the largest Polkadot conference that we've had all year was based out of here. It was big. Okay, so we've talked a lot about government stuff. We've talked a bit about enterprise stuff. But what about retail traction? Because ultimately here, we've got a lot of degens. That's why people come to blockchain. So if we onboard 10 million new users, we want them to also have a typical Web3 experience. We want them to be able to actually do normal blockchain stuff. And so we do have a wallet which people will be able to interact with. And so I think the main point is here, we want them to be able to actually come on board and actually be Web3 users, not just have a Web2 experience, but we want them to actually become blockchain users. So my previous business before starting Mandala Chain is we started Republic Repair, which is one of the largest blockchain media companies in Indonesia. The numbers of our community are even bigger than this now because it has grown quite more. And we're creating Republic Passport. And so this will be the gateway inside the Mandala ecosystem where you'll be able to create your .id in here, but it will also be a blockchain wallet, so a Polkadot wallet. It'll probably also be a Bitcoin wallet and an EVM wallet as well for all your other EVM chains. But it will also have news, it'll have tutorials, it'll have videos. We even probably, hopefully, will have some games in there as well. So this will be a one-stop shop, and we're calling it the Web3 Super App. And this will be how we onboard mass amounts of people, not just from Indonesia, but all over the world, into the ecosystem, into the Mandala ecosystem, into the Polkadot ecosystem. So we also have other dApps that are building on top of us as well right now. So we're talking with multiple different teams that are all in the process of building. So we've got some real-world asset applications. We have some AI applications, some DeFi, and some games that are also all being built on Mandala chain. Again, to leverage all of this mass amount of new users, which we're going to bring from these government applications, and onboard them into actual retail blockchain applications. So this is our beautiful team, which we've got here. You've probably seen a couple of handsome guys around with the Mandala shirts on. So feel free to approach them, go offer to give them a hug. They're all very friendly. But we're really excited about what's coming for Mandala Chain. We're imminently about to launch, so it's a good time to come and get involved in our community. Come sign up for our Discord or our Twitter or our Telegram and really come and get involved because, like I said, TGE is about to happen and mainnet will go live shortly. So yeah, thank you for everyone's time and go Polkadot.